Hello and welcome to Max and Tillison. Well, we have another Sportster in the barn over here. We've got, I just picked up a 1971 XLCH Sportster America. And this bike's going to need to be restored a little bit. It's a good running bike. It runs really good. It shifts really well. And I picked it up a couple of weeks ago, and it's just been sitting here. So I'm going to have to take this bike apart and go through the whole thing. It does run really well, so I don't have to do a lot of mechanical to it at all. So it's basically going to be just a lot of paint work. So I'll be taking off the front end and the back end and start to restore this bike. Well, here it is. This was not too far from my house, about 15 minutes away, and I went and looked at it, and I just decided to buy this bike. I'll take you around it a little bit and see what we have going here. So it's got the original oil lines on it. They're hard as a rock. I'm gonna have to replace those. It's got the original front end on this bike. It's in very good shape. I'm gonna have to detail out all the rims, take them all off and detail those out, and all the hubs and everything. So this front end's coming off. I'll take you around the front to the gauges. It says it's got 10,000 miles on it. And all this is stock, and all the lights are stock, in good shape. I have another set of bars for this bike because the chrome on these are really faded pretty bad, so I'm gonna replace both of the bars on this bike right here. In this 71, it came with black jugs, so I'm gonna have to repaint these. I'm gonna take all this off and start to detail out the whole engine. So what I'm going to end up doing here is taking off the rear end, the swing arm, and the wheels, and the whole rear end, and I'm going to rebuild the swing arm and repaint it and start to detail out the frame back here. And I'm going to do the same to the front end as well. I'll take the front end off and all the bars and the lights and the gauges and start to repaint all the frame in here so it looks like it's brand new. And as I said, I'm going to detail out the motor while everything is down. So it's going to be down to just the engine inside the frame, and it's going to sit on a skid, and I'll begin to detail it from there. And we'll go around it. All the paint is stripped off it. Now this was a Sparkling America bike. It had the birch white paint job, and it had the Sparkling America on the tank. It had 3 wide red stripes going down here with a blue stripe coming along the edge right here. And the number 1 plate on the sides had a big number 1 on both sides of the gas tank. And so I have to get those, and I'm going to repaint this whole bike. It's going to be, like I said, in birch white, and it's going to be the Sparkling America scheme on this bike, like it came brand new. All the paint stripped off, as you can see. And I do have a stock set of pipes that I have that I'll put on this bike, the stagger duals. And it's got a chrome oil tank, and I'm going to repaint that black along with this chrome chain guard, and I'm going to scuff that up as well and paint that black. These shocks too, these are a little old and weak, and I'm going to put a brand new set of shocks on this bike with the black springs. And also tested out the front end of the bike, and these springs are old too, and they're a little bit weak. So I'm going to pop off the caps here and take the front end apart while I have it off the bike, and I'll replace the springs in the front end. But the bike runs out extremely well, so I don't have to do a lot of mechanical at all to this bike because it runs so good. So he's got the key switch right here. It's extended out with a L-shaped bracket that he made. I'm going to take that off and put the key switch right back underneath the frame where it's supposed to be. And all the oil lines are kind of hard here. I'm going to replace all of those. And as I said, I detail out the frame, swing arm, and the back wheels. The struts are all in good shape here. They're really nice on both sides of the bike. He drilled a hole here on both sides, so I have to weld that up on both sides. It's not a problem. And the chrome housing has to go. I'm going to scuff that up and paint that as well. And the chrome is old, so I'm going to replace the battery box chrome right here. That's pretty faded, pretty bad. And this is faded pretty bad as well. I may replace that, I'm not sure. And what I did with this bike when I first got it, I took the gas tank off. It was full of rust inside, and I gave it a 50-50 acid wash to clean the rust out of it. And that exposed a couple of weak spots in this fuel tank. I exposed a pinhole leak right over here in the back of the gas tank, and I have another pinhole right underneath the gas tank right here. So I exposed all of that with that 50-50 acid wash, and I'm going to silver solder those so I don't have any leaks, because I'm going to put an expensive paint job on this fuel tank and I can't afford any leaks. So that's the reason why I gave it a 50-50 acid wash, to expose the weak spots on this fuel tank here. I don't know if you can see inside there. I don't think so, but it's nice and clean now. I got a little ding right there. I have to fill that in a little bit. It's not too bad. But all the rest of the fuel tank is in very straight shape. It's not dented or anything, except for that little ding right there. I'll take that out and blend it all in really nice. And get everything in tip-top shape, and then I'll give it a nice paint job. Paint is very expensive, so I had to make sure that I don't have any leaks, because all these old fuel tanks, if they've been sitting a while, you have to expose all the little pinhole leaks in them. So that's the reason why that I did take an acid wash to it, to expose all of that, because paint's so expensive, and I don't want any pinholes and ruin a brand new paint job. They're too expensive. And I'll use jet black on the headlight shell along with the oil tank like it was stock, brand new, and also on the chain guard. This will be all jet black, just like it is on my 1970 Sportster here, with the jet black springs and chain guard and the oil tank. So that's going to be the same way on my 1970. So back in 1971, they had the Sportster script on the fuel tanks as well. But they had an option, which was a Sparkling America paint scheme. And that was birch white and had the Sparkling America blue and red stripes coming down the fuel tank, and the big number 1 on both sides of the fuel tank. So this is how this bike came, with the Sparkling America paint scheme. And that's going right back on it again. Now, I wasn't looking for a Sportster, but this one just kind of popped up, and it was not far from my house, and I thought I would just stop by and pick this one up and have another project on my hands. So there it is. 1971 XLCH Sparkling America. about to be restored again. And I have a stock seat for this bike too. That's the stock seat. It's supposed to go on this bike. It's in very nice shape. In fact, it's like brand new. Shocks are old and weak, and so I'm gonna get a brand new set of shocks for this. These are old and weak, so they have to be replaced. And like I said, the springs should be black anyway, and also that should be black. It should not be chromed out, so that's got to be changed. I'm gonna repaint that as well. You know, like I said, the swing arm is dull black. That's got to be painted along with the whole frame. You can see all the rust spots right there. I have to fix that and repaint and fix these holes right here. I'm still working on the 1976 T140 and my old Triumph there, and I'm gonna hone out both of the jugs. I have two round indentations right there I have to take out, so I'm gonna try to hone that first. Now if that doesn't work out, and I'll take this in and I'll get it bored out. I have the hone right here. This is the hone that I'm going to use on these cylinders here. But if the hone doesn't take out these two round indentations inside the cylinder, I'm going to take it in and I'll get it bored out, and I'll tell the machinist to start at this size right here, and if it doesn't work, to go to the next size up right here, and that should be enough to take out those deep indentations inside the bores right there. And then I'll start to rebuild this whole top end here. On my 1976 Triumph Bonneville. So I have my hands full here. Sportster heaven, huh? So now I have a 68, 1970, and now a 1971 Sparkling America. Now all I need is a 71 Sparkling America FX Super Glide, which I had one before a long time ago. I'm sorry I sold that bike. It was a beautiful machine. So there it is, guys, my brand new project. I'm not sure when I'm going to start on this thing. I'll probably start on the fuel tank first and get it all straightened out and fix the leaks in it. Then I'm going to run the bike on the road a little while and to wring out the engine a little bit more, but I know it runs really good. In fact, we rode this bike here about 15 miles and it rode perfectly. It starts on the first or second kick as well. It really starts quickly. Now, back in 1971, they had a Tilson on these 1971 XLCHs. Now, this one here has an old Bendix carburetor on it, but it seems to run really well with this bike. As I said, the bike starts extremely fast. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. if I'm actually going to keep the old Bendix on it or put the original HD1 on this bike. I'm not really sure. HD1 Tillerson. But it runs so good on the old Bendix, it starts so quickly that I'm a little apprehensive as to put the original HD1 carburetor on it. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of going back and forth in my mind with that one. But all the pieces are here. I don't have to hunt down any parts for this bike. Everything is right here. And that's the important thing. I don't like going online trying to hunt down parts because they're so expensive and they're so overpriced now these days. And so when I seen this one, it was all stock and all the parts were there. All I really have to do is take it apart and just to go over and to repaint and to make it look nice again. And I'm going to rebuild the front end, like I said, and take off those old shocks, and so the bike rides nice. But besides that, it's a good bike. It's, you know, like I said, everything is there, everything works, and it's a running machine, and it runs very, very well. It's the fastest starting Sportster that I ever had. I mean, so it does really start very, very fast, and I'm happy with that. And in my head, I think it's going to be about $1,000 to get this bike to where I would want it. I'm not going to over restore this bike. I'm not going to just go nuts and put too much into it, but I do want it to make it look nice, and you know, to bring back the Sparkly in America paint job on this bike when it came new. And that's what I want to do to this bike. So is to bring it back stock again with that paint job. It's going to really pop. It's going to look really, really nice. You know, now it's full of grease and down in there. I have to power wash everything out of here and start taking it apart. I got the bike home. I noticed that it started to leak a lot of fuel from the side of the gas tank, and it was dripping all over the floor. And what I happened to find here is that I have a pinhole leak right in this area. I have a pinhole leak in the gas tank, and I see a couple other areas, maybe one in here, possibly maybe a few tiny pinholes in this area as well. So my next job, what I'm going to do after a while, is I'm going to clean out the gas tank. I'm going to acid wash it, and maybe that may expose some more pinholes. And then I'm going to silver solder all these little pinholes going around here. I'll silver solder in this area, and I'll silver solder in this area right here. And then I'll refill it with a bunch of fuel. I'll test it for any leaks, because I'm going to do an expensive paint job on this gas tank, and I can't afford any leaks. So I'm going to do a thorough test on this thing before I even attempt to do a paint job on this bike. And what I mean by a test, I'm going to fill it up with fuel, and I'm going to put it back on the bike, and I'm going to start the bike up and let all the vibrations hit this gas tank, and I'm going to take it for a little ride, and so I get the revs up and let things shake around a little bit and see if my soldering holds. And I finally fixed all the little pinholes in here, and only then, after I test it and let the gas sit in there for a couple of days, will I attempt to do a nice expensive Sparkly in America paint job, or a Sparkly in America paint job on this bike, because that stuff's expensive. You know, people don't realize what all the paint materials cost and all the graphics cost. And then all the clear coat and all that stuff, and you start adding all that up. Paint jobs are very expensive, even if you do them yourself, which I do because I love to paint, but it's still not cheap. So I'm going to go in and get a bite to eat, and I'm going to cool off a little bit, come back out here, and I'll give it an acid wash and clean all the rust inside. And then I'm a silver solder these little pinholes here, and I'll go from there. Okay, I just acid washed the interior of my fuel tank here, my 71 Sportster, and this is the reason why that I acid wash the inside, because it reveals a lot of weak spots, as you can see at the back of the gas tank, and there's a few spots under the gas tank as well. So I'm going to silver solder these leaks right here, and it should be good after that. Now, I did this right in the middle of a rainstorm with very high winds, and the trees were falling down around me, but I couldn't stop what I was doing once they got started. We had a big storm here. But you know, once you start something like this, you got to finish it, because I can't let that acid sit and set the gas tank a long time. I have a 50-50 mix, so it's not too strong, but you still have to stay on top of it so it doesn't stay in your fuel tank too long. Just enough to find the weak spots, such as this one right there. And there's another one right under there, under that gas tank. And that's that. We're about to storm again pretty soon. We got leaves all over the place, and a couple of fallen trees back there. Oh, look at this right down my driveway. I'm going to have some work to do. I have another fallen tree over here. And as I walk down my driveway, I'm sure I'm going to find more fallen trees, so I'm going to be busy over here chopping trees. But it never ends around here, boys. There's always something to do. But when you're working on Sportster parts, you gotta keep, you can't stop, you gotta keep moving. I don't care if I got a windstorm or not. Boy, the skies up there look pretty bad. And I thought this big tree was gonna come down on top of me. I heard it cracking, and I was waiting for it to fall down, so it was one of those things. All right, let's get back to the fuel tank. I just rinsed it out, and so it cleaned a lot of that rust out of there, and I neutralized the acid. I put some baking soda inside the gas tank, and that neutralized all the acid. There it is. Always something, huh? I'm doing this away from the house, inside the woods, so I don't spill acid around the house. So this is in the woods over here, so you never do these acid washes inside. You always do these outside, where there's a lot of fresh air, and you wear a mask, and you wear eye protection, of course. And I do a 50-50 mix. So this is very toxic, but it's the fastest way to knock out all that rust inside the gas tank. Yeah, lots of you guys have been asking me to start filming a paint job because I love doing paint jobs. And so this is going to be our next opportunity. So I'll start filming how I do my paint jobs and from start to finish. And I'll probably do it from part 1 to part 4 or 5 or something like that. From start to finish. Just like I did this one. And this one. In the 1968 XLCH paint scheme. And so I have to get started on the paint job pretty quickly because in October it starts cooling off, and I don't paint if it's colder than about 65 degrees. Then I can't paint anymore. So I have to get going on this paint job and get it out of the way before I start digging into taking the whole bike apart. The spokes are kind of rusty. I have to sandblast those. And that's that. So I have Ironhead Heaven going over here. So until then, guys, you take good care of yourselves. And I want to thank you again for watching Mags and Tillison. So happy motorcycling, and I'll see you on the next video.